Let's talk about competencies. We talked about those behavioral anchors. Why do we talk about them? Because the best competency rating scale is one that looks at behavior frequencies. Behavior frequency scales are, best practice, and they're awesome. Again, it completely relates to the content. How often do we observe this set of behaviors with this employee? Is it consistent? Constant basis. Everybody in contact with the person would think that they're excellent in this area, Is it observed frequently? It's observed, but, there could continue to be a little more focus. It's observed sometimes, but there's a definite development opportunity. I see it, but I don't see enough of it, and I don't know that this person is really going to get better at demonstrating this unless I point out that, we're not seeing enough of these behaviors, right? And needs immediate improvement, well, I seldom see it, and if you're in that category, that means, you've got some work to do, right? But let's be honest, don't these make a lot more sense than meets expectations, exceeds expectations, doesn't meet expectations? I mean, that's what this is all about, but it's amazing for us because 90% of the prospects we speak to use that 5-category rating scale. It's stunning to me. It's stunning. Career development is another area that's interesting. And if I'm going to create the simple and perfect appraisal, I've got 3 areas in it. I've got competencies, I've got goals and objectives, and I've got career development plans or personal development plans. What we see a lot of is, they're not used everywhere like goals and competencies. Now, I will tell you, it's interesting being here today, and for the last 2 days, there's a much greater focus, and Glenn told me this when I came here, there's much greater focus in the UK on personal development and learning than there is in North America, and I'm seeing it in the conversations we're having over at the booth these days. We see a lot of the discussion happening verbally, but nothing being documented. So, yeah, John, we talk about, personal development in the face-to-face meeting, but we don't really write anything down. I mean, I don't know. What would I write down? Right? So that's where it gets interesting because what we want to do is link it back to the behaviors that we talked about to make it cyclical. We want the career development and personal development plan to relate to the competencies and the behaviors that we've just spelled out. We want to set up a process just like goals and objectives where we set, monitor, and evaluate the goals and objectives. We want to set, monitor, and evaluate the career and personal development plan. And then the last bullet on here, the one everybody misses but is critical to the simple and effective appraisal. It's asking managers for specific employee potential feedback. Okay? And what we mean by employee potential are things like, is this employee ready to take on more responsibility in the next 6 months? Is this employee ready to take on more responsibility in the next 3 years? Is this employee promotable? Do you think this employee is going to leave the organization in the next 12 months? We want to ask a set of questions to managers about that. Because we're going to use that a little bit for succession planning. We're going to show you that very simple tool that makes use of the answers to these questions in just a second. So, personal development plan, more than just training and initiatives the employee is going to complete with a timeline. That's important. It needs to have that career development aspect. And to career development aspect can be questions about, what position in this organization would you like to strive for? It can also be about these all-important manager potential questions. Once we get all this in place, we want to be able to have our automated system provide us with a lot of reporting and analytics. We see still a lot of focus on compliance-based reporting, which is, hey, okay, how many people meets expectations because they're eligible for a 3% raise? Or a merit increase of 3%. We see a lot of that compliance-based reporting, but not a lot given to analysis and metrics. What's the information telling us? We don't see reporting widely disseminated. We see, it's still sitting in the human resources practitioner's office. It's not necessarily being shared out with the executives and managers, employees and managers, even at the end of the process. So what we recommend and what we'd like you to think about is before you put a talent management process in place, and this one will kick you, think about the output first. So before you consider your content, think about what you want that system to tell you. A lot of people have come up to the booth over the last 2 days and said, John, I just need some metrics on talent. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, but what does that mean actually, right? What does it mean to have metrics on talent? Well, what it means is we want averages, counts, gaps, trends, comparisons. We want to know how many people are highly rated, in what competency categories, where are the gaps, what skills are being used to address the gaps, How many goals have been met? How many people are working on this organizational goal? Is the achievement of organizational objectives lopsided in favor of 1 or 2 out of the 5 goals, and we've got only a few people working on the other 3? Those are all the pieces of information we want to get out of it. We want to think analytically like that. We want it to tell us something. I also want it to tell us what employees should we cycle out of this organization. Nobody likes to hear that, but I think you need to. You need to think like that. If you want to be a high-performance organization, you know, you've got to cycle out the lower-end weeds that just, for whatever reason, aren't working out. The reporting tool is really, really important here, and we want to make sure any talent management process or system you put in place has good reporting. It's really important. Not just canned reports, that it has ad hoc reports and lots of visuals. And most importantly, when you get those at the end of the process, you want to share them out with the executive and management team. This is where it all comes together, though. At the end of the process, the simplest and most effective gauge of talent is right here, and it's not used very much at all. And believe me, this thing is awesome, okay? So what we're going to recommend is that you introduce and use the 9-box. You use it and you share it with executives, evaluators, and employees. You use it as the basis of your succession plans and your talent reviews, and you be ready to act on results. This is what it looks like. And you remember earlier we talked about how we had a performance scale and potential. Remember the potential questions we talked about in the career development plan? Well, if we can relate those to a score in the back end of the system, and we've got our performance appraisal score, or pieces of it, we can put employees into this 9-box grid. That top right corner right there with number 4 in it, and these 4 employees here, those are the successors in the organization. You know, fortunately we don't have anybody down here in the bottom corner, because that corner here is the cycle people out of the organization corner, right? The people in the middle we want to develop and work with. But if you want to talk about simple and effective performance management, I have 3 sections in my performance appraisal, right? I have competencies, goals, and objectives in a career development plan, and that's the output right there. And that output, by the way, can be shared with everybody, right? From executives to the employee and manager. I want to say to the employee, John or Glenn, you're right in the middle here. You know, what are we going to do to get you from here to here? Okay, everybody can understand this, and this can be twisted in a lot of ways, because you can relate this to compensation, you can relate it to training and development, you can relate it to talent pools, leadership, and succession plans. So the 9-box is really, really critical, okay? It is really what makes this process come together and bring the information together. And if you can share this back, I'll tell you the win we get. When we share this back with the managers that participated in the process, they go, okay, I get it now. For the first time in my life, I actually get why we're doing this. This is helpful for me. Thank you. Like, I get it now. There's something in it for me beyond just compliance. I see you are looking at this, right? You've got a whole analytical approach to understanding talent here. And it's simple, and I get it. It's easy. I can click on the box and look at my team. We put some other extras in here. In the interest of time, I'm not going to do these because I know we're running out. 360 multi-rater reviews, important part of talent management. I'll just tell you this, if I go back just one slide, if you use 360 to do your potential side of the scale here, my favorite part, if you use it for there, we take manager bias out of this 9-box, right? Because we've asked the managers for the performance side. I asked peers and direct reports for the potential side. No manager bias. It's eliminated. So 360 review is important. There's some things in here. We put some bullet points in, things you can look at. Compensation, you know, another really important area of talent management today. And we put some best practices in there as well. So take a look at that. Surveys and engagement surveys need to be done once a year for sure. There's lots in here on that. And with that, I want to thank you for your time today.